Ayan, meron na. Meron na ba?
Opo, sir.
Okay, so for the second quarter, sana nakapag-start na tayo the other week kaso medyo busy ang mga tao kaya I wasn't able to provide you the module. So I planned for this week na dalawang ibibigay kong module pero nilimit ko na lang yung activity para mas madali ninyong magawa. Well, most of our activities for the second sem naman ay mga writing activities. So most probably ang in-expect ko lang na magiging output ninyo is yung magsusulat kayo ng inyong mga sariling stories. Ayun, ayaw, dumikit. Sariling stories na may kinalaman sa fiction. Since lahat ng output ng creative writing ay fiction. Ayan, pasok na sila. Okay, so first we have the elements of fiction. When we talk about fiction, these are just make-believe stories. Malabas pala sa screen ko yan. Fiction are just make-believe or invented stories. This is not new to you kasi noong grade 10 kayo, nakausap ko si Ma'am Shal na pag-aralan nyo na rin itong fiction at pagsusulat or yung mga parts ng plot at yung iba pang elements sa pagsusulat ng story. But for now, always remember that when we talk about fiction, these are just products of our imagination. Okay? So, lagi natin sinasabi, imagination ng writer ang limit. Dahil kung ano yung nai-imagine or kung ano yung naiisip ng writer, it depends on him or her on how he or she will be producing the story, on how the story will run, kung ano yung magiging pasikot-sikot ng story, kung sino yung ilalagay niyang characters, kung ano yung powers ng ilalagay niyang characters, kung ano yung mga characteristics ng characters na ilalagay niya doon. At since ito rin ay fiction, since it is just a product of our imagination or it is just a make-believe or invented stories, nakadepende din sa writer kung saang setting niya ilalagay yung story. So mamaya pag-aaralan natin yung setting at yung plot at yung conflict. So these fiction stories may be short stories. Ayan, yung mga nababasa nyo sa Wattpad, short stories yung mga yon, yung ang dami-dami nilang mga kwento. Then fiction can also produce fables. Fables yung mga stories wherein the characters are animals. Ayan, mga vignettes, mga plays, or novels. Okay, so but before that, let us first know what our learning objectives are for this lesson. Okay, ano ba yung mga objectives natin? Ano ba yung mga inaasahan natin na magiging output natin for this lesson? Okay, so for our objective 1, we have to identify the various elements, techniques, and literary devices in various modes of fiction. So, dyan, uunahin muna natin yung elements of fiction. Then after that, saka tayo pupunta dun sa techniques and literary devices. Okay, and for your output, you are going to write your journal entries and other short compositions exploring the key elements of fiction and then the techniques and literary devices in various modes of fiction. So you are expected later on to write your own story na dapat i-consider nyo itong pag-aaralan natin na 6 elements of fiction. Actually we have other elements of fiction pero hindi ko pa siya ilalagay sa ngayon para hindi masyadong malawak yung mapag-uusapan natin this morning. So let's start with the first element. The first element of fiction is the character. Okay, so characters are the people or animals or even aliens in the story. Ito mga characters, these are the very essential element of fiction or the story because without a character, most probably there will never be a story. Kasi sino ang gaganap if you do not have characters? 'Di ba? Saan iikot yung storya kung walang characters? Sino ang magra-run ng storya kung walang characters? That is why characters are very important when we are going to write our stories. Okay, so readers come to know the characters through what they say, what they think, and how they act. So, when a reader or a viewer sees or look at the characters, they can easily identify who the character is because of the words that the character utters. Okay? Or how the character thinks or how they act. Say for example, you are reading a Wattpad, tapos nabasa mo doon na mayroong isang babae na naglalakad papunta sa elevator ng isang hotel at pagpasok niya sa elevator, nakita niya ang isang lalaki. Napakagwapo, ang bango-bango. Tapos nagkatitigan sila ng matagal. Nang muntik nang sumara ang pinto ng elevator, saka lang na-realize ng babae na kailangan pala niyang pumasok doon sa loob ng elevator. Okay, by merely reading that part of the story, you can easily identify na yung babae at yung lalaki ay posibleng sila yung mga protagonist o yung bida sa storya. Kasi nabigyan sila ng pagkakataon na ipakita kung paano sila nag-meet. Okay, so ganun din, when we are reading a story, we can easily identify who the character is through the words that they say o yung mga lines na kanilang binibitawan o kaya the way they think when they are alone and how they act. Okay? Pag kunwari medyo masungit, baka sabihin mo, ano to, kontrabida to. O kaya baka pag medyo mabait, ito yung bida. Okay? So, ganun lang kadaling ma-identify yung character. Pero, merong isang English novelist or isang writer ng novel, si E.M. Forster, na sabi niya, na-identify yung characters sa isang story whether they are flat or round characters. Okay, so in here, we only have two types of characters, although meron pang mga ibang uri ng characters, pero we will focus on the two. We have the flat characters and the round characters. When we talk about flat characters, these characters do not play an important role in the story. Okay, so meaning, sila lang yung mga siguro extra, o kaya sila yung nanay nung bida, kapatid nung bida, kaibigan ng bida. Not necessarily hindi important, but they also are important because they will have the opportunity to tahiin yung kwento because without them baka hindi mabubuo yung kwento. They are also essential, but they really are not very important. Kasi pag wala sila, pwede ring mabuo yung kwento because we only focus on the protagonist o yung mga bida. And these flat characters often have one or two traits with little description about them. Okay, kaya nga pag nanonood tayo ng teleserye, pag ipinapakita na yung parents or parent ng bida, hindi naman masyadong kinukwento kung saan ba siya nanggaling unless it is a very essential part of the story that needs to be explained in the story, kung ano yung role niya. Okay, pero pag hindi naman masyado, they are considered to be flat characters. And then, we also have the second type of character, which is the round characters. These characters play an important role, often the lead roles in the story. Okay, so pag sinasabi nating lead roles, pwede siyang bida or kontrabida. Kasi lead role din naman yung kontrabida. Kaya nga sa mga awards, meron tayong tinatawag na Best Actress at Best Supporting Actress. Most of the time, ang nagiging Best Supporting Actress yung kontrabida. Kasi hindi nagiging effective yung Best Actress or yung bida kung hindi rin effective yung kontrabida. Okay, so round characters, they are complex, dimensional, and well developed. When we talk about complex, these characters have a lot of characteristics. Pwedeng minsan from pagiging mabait, nagiging masungit sila or matigas para mag level up yung kanilang character. They also are dimensional, iba't iba, both extremes. Pwedeng sobrang nahihirapan, pwedeng sobrang yaman, then maghihirap, pwedeng sobrang mahirap, then yayaman. Napakaraming dimensions ng kanilang character and they are well developed. Ibig sabihin, there is a tendency that these round characters can turn into something that we did not expect. Okay? Say for example, ano ba yung pinaka-sikat na movies? The House of Us. House of Us ba? Hindi. Yung kay Alden tsaka kay Catherine. O, di ba? Si Catherine ay nag-OFW sa Hong Kong. O, sino mag-aakala na ang isang graduate ng college, nurse ba siya doon? Tapos naging OFW and then meron siyang pangarap na makapunta sa Canada and so on and so forth. So, complex yung kanyang character, dimensional yung kanyang character and well developed kasi inabangan natin kung ano yung mapupuntahan ng kanyang character. These round characters often change by going through a life-changing experience as the story unfolds. Okay, so nakadepende siya doon sa writer kung paano niya gagawin yung magiging pag-level up ng character ng isang round character. Okay, so again, we have two. We have the flat character, hindi masyadong importante. Round character, napaka-importante ng kanilang role. Okay, so now let's come to the next element of fiction, which is the setting. Okay, setting is where and when the story takes place. So basically, this is the uh, location or the venue of the story or the place of the story, and then the time when it was being done. Okay, so setting is the immediate surroundings of the characters, such as props in a scene like when the characters are under the tree, that is already a setting. They are inside the house, that is already a setting. O kaya they are walking on the baywalk, that is already a setting. Or they are inside the classroom, that is already a setting. Parang may manok doon na. Narinig ko yung Jevi. Okay, so setting na yon. Lahat ng lugar ay setting siya. Okay? So aside from the place where the action or the story takes place, pwede rin maging setting yung time of day. Kailan ba nangyari yung kwento? Say for example, bumuo tayo ng kwento. Yung sabi ko kanina, yung isang babae na pababa ng hotel tapos pasakay ng elevator. Ano kayang setting nun? Ang kanilang lugar is the hotel and the elevator. Anong time para mas maging dramatic? Anong time para mas maging dramatic? Pwedeng pababa siya at papasok ng trabaho. Okay, so nagkasabay silang dalawa doon sa elevator. Pagbaba nila is umuulan. Okay, it's an early morning setting wherein it is raining. Ngayon, pagbaba nila dun sa hotel, paglabas ng hotel, umuulan. Okay, so basically, sino ang may dala ng payong? Si boy ba o si girl? Most probably, ang iniisip natin, most probably, depende naman yun sa writer, ang may dala ng payong ay si babae. But this time, in our story, umagang-umaga, umuulan, ang may dala ng payong ay si boy. Okay, so palabas na ng hotel si boy at si girl. Ngayon nag-open ang payong si boy. Okay. So ano kaya ang ina-expect natin na mangyayari? Papayungan ba niya si girl or maglalakad ng mag-isa si boy at sasakay ng taxi? Okay, morning 'yon. Paano naka-apekto yung umaga at umuulan? Parang 'di ba parang iniisip mo, ala mababasa yung babae o kaya ala mababasa yung lalaki, ala diyan na sila magiging sweet, magpapayungan sila and so on and so forth. So it depends on you as the writer. Okay, so nakakadagdag yung setting doon sa drama ng storya. That is why it is very important for us writers to put all the elements in a story. Kaya nga kahit na yung character mo, maganda yung pagkaka-build up mo ng character, pero hindi mo ginandahan yung setting, hindi mo ginandahan yung location or yung place, hindi mo ginandahan yung time of the day, hindi mo ginandahan yung weather, 'di ba? Marami pang uri ng setting and it depends on you on how will you add all this setting sa iyong storya para mas maging dramatic. Okay, another setting, time of the year. So, yung kwento natin kanina, since it is raining, most probably it is a rainy season in the Philippines. What if yung sinusulat mong kwento ay nangyari sa Korea? Korea wherein nagkaka-snow. So, baka, ano yon? Baka winter yon, 'di ba? So, palitan natin yung setting. Burahin natin yung umuulan, nagkaka-snow, okay, winter. Tapos balot ng jacket si girl tsaka si boy, pero wala siyang payong. So, what are they going to do? 'Di ba? O kaya pagbaba nila ng hotel ay nadulas si girl kasi 'di ba winter may mga yellow yun, madulas. So nadulas si girl. Ano kaya ang gagawin ni boy? Tutulungan ba niya na itayo si girl? Titignan lang ba niya? Hahayaan niya? Iiwan niya? And so on and so forth. So kung gusto mong mas maging kapanapanabik yung storya, pwedeng ang gagawin mo ay si boy, hahayaan niya si girl na matumba doon or madapa or bumagsak doon sa yellow tapos lalayo na si boy, maglalakad siya. Parang soplado style, 'di ba? Tapos sasabihin ng reader o yung viewer, grabe naman yung lalaking yun, napaka-ungentleman. Pero as the story progresses, doon mo marirealize na kaya pala ginawa ng writer na ganun para mas tutok yung mga viewers ng story. Okay, another one, pag ikaw naman ay medyo mahilig sa mga historical stories, ayan, pwede mong ilagay yung historical period wherein what century or decade did the story take place. Okay. Say for example, yung panahon, yung pag nanood kayo ng Jewel in the Palace, 'di ba? Medyo historical 'yun kasi parang based siya sa true to life story na merong digmaan noon and then nagkaroon ng Jewel in the Palace. Bakit? Kumain ka na. Hi, sabi mo.
Hi.
Doon ka na sirinto, nagkaklase ako. Kakain ako mamaya. Okay, so doon sa Jewel in the Palace, it is partly may katotohanan. Although it is only a fiction, ha? Fiction lang yun. Pero may partly may katotohanan kasi meron silang naging basihan. Or pag ikaw naman ay medyo mahilig sa geography, 'di ba? Ilalagay mo yung mga lugar na napaka-importante. Say for example, nangyari ang inyong kwento sa loob ng National Museum. 'Di ba? Parang yung X and Y's na nag-start sila sa museum or doon yung pinakagustong-gusto nilang puntahan na place. O kaya nag-start ang inyong story sa Limahong Channel, 'di ba? Tapos magkukuwento kayo kunwari doon na dito dumaan yung mga barko noon, something like that. O kaya magsa-start ang yung story sa Capitol. Okay? Kunwari nagkabanggaan kayo doon, tapos ipapakita mo yung Capitol. Wherein, pag idinadagdag mo yung mga ganong setting, mas nai-imagine nung reader or yung viewer na, okay, siguro ganito yung kwento nila habang naglalakad sila doon sa harap ng Capitol, and so on and so forth. That is why, again, I will repeat, it is very important for us, writers, to include all these settings para mas makadagdag siya doon sa kulay ng kwento na binubuo natin. So, later on, if you are going to write your own stories, you make sure na balikan nyo itong lesson na ito. I will be sending you the copy. Nandun din ito sa module ninyo para makita ninyo na pwede ko palang i-consider itong ganitong uri ng setting. Or pag medyo gustong-gusto nyo naman ng yung medyo, magi-end na. This meeting no longer has a time limit. Ay, wala nang time limit. Dire-diretso pa. Okay, pag kayo naman ay medyo mahilig sa science, di ba? O gusto nyo magkaroon ng kwento sa outer space, pwede rin naman. Like yung mga kwento ng mga MCU, di ba? Yung mga Avengers, they are, may mga characters na nasa outer space. Pwede rin ganun kung kayo ay medyo maalam sa ganung field, okay? Pero wag nating pilitin na pumunta sa isang field na hindi tayo masyadong maalam, baka ma-question yung kwento natin. Although it is only a fiction, kung merong mga nagbabasa talaga doon sa topic na pinaghugutan mo ng fiction mo at nagkamali, baka questionin yung story mo. Kaya better yet, doon tayo mag-focus sa alam natin yung field na panggagalingan ng ating fictional characters or stories under fiction. Okay, so the next element is the plot. Okay, hindi ito si Diana, hindi ito si Julina, hindi rin ito si Abigail, pero ito ay plot. Okay? Plot is the order of events in the story. Si Marie, hindi rin ito si Mariel. Ito ay plot, P-L-O-T. Okay. So plot is the order of events in the story. So kung paano mo aayusin yung kwento, kung paano yung pagkakaayos, pagkakasunod-sunod ng kwento, that is what we call the plot. And plot usually follows a particular structure called Freytag's pyramid. Okay, so ito, nabasa nyo na to. And Gustav Freytag is a German playwright, isa rin siyang writer, who lived during the 1800s, and he identified this structure, itong makikita ninyo. Ayan. So lagi ninyo itong nakikita, but you do not know kung sino ang gumawa. So ngayon alam nyo na, si Gustav Freytag, siya ang gumawa nito. Okay? Pero baka sabihin nyo mamaya, bakit yung ibang story meron siyang mga flashback, meron siyang foreshadowing, okay? Yun ay literary devices at techniques. Dito muna tayo sa elements. Okay, so first first part ng Freytag's pyramid is the exposition, then rising action, climax is the highest point of the story, and then the falling action, and the denouement or the resolution. Ano ba itong mga tinatawag natin na exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and denouement or the resolution of the story? Ito siya. Exposition is an introduction to the characters, time, and the problem. Okay, so ang exposition ay pag-i-entry ng writer doon sa character, sa setting, at sa conflict or sa problem ng story. So, doon sa kwento natin kanina na nag-start ang kwento natin doon sa babaeng naglalakad papunta sa elevator. Okay, so that is already an exposition kasi ipinakita na natin yung character ng babae at character ng lalaki. 'Di ba? Exposition, pinapakilala natin. Ibig sabihin, baka sila yung mga bida. At yung setting is sa loob ng hotel, elevator, paglabas nila, winter. Okay, so pinapakita na natin na baka yung kwento nila ay nag-take place sa panahon ng winter kung saan nagyayelo. At ang problem nila, yung lalaki ay masungit. Okay, so na-introhan ba natin ng maganda yung kwento? Yes, kasi nabigyan natin ng justice yung pag-identify doon sa character, sa setting, at sa conflict. Okay, doon sa rising action, this includes the events that the main character encounters. Okay, yung pagkatapos nung time na iniwan ng lalaki yung babae na nadapa or natumba, that is already part of the rising action. Kung ano yung mangyayari doon, depending on the writer's ability to create the story, that is already the rising action. Yun na siguro yung magkikita ulit sila sa sakayan ng taxi, o kaya magkikita sila sa isang kainan, o kaya malalaman nila na magkatrabaho pala sila, first day of work pala ng babae, o kaya malalaman nila na manager pala ng kumpanya yung lalaki, kung saan papasok yung babae, and so on and so forth. That is already the rising action. So, doon na malalaman yung events that the main character encounters while they are playing their roles in the story. Okay? And then, the highest point or the turning point of the story is the climax. Lahat tayo, ito yung pinakagusto natin, yung climax. Yung sasabihin mo, alam, malapit na, malapit na, malapit na yung kwento kung malalaman mo kung ano ba talaga ang mangyayari. So, climax is ito yung you are very eager to know what the story will turn out or how the story will turn out. Dun sa kwento natin yung sa lalaki at sa babae, baka sa climax nun ay, di ba, kunwari magkakainlaban sila, rising action yun, magkakainlaban sila, tapos ang climax is maghihiwalay sila dahil nalaman nila na iisa pala yung parent nila. Nalaman nila na magkapatid pala sila. Diba? So that is the climax. Then, nung maghihiwalay na sila, nung kunwari nagpaalam na sila sa isa't isa, they already are prepared para maghiwalay, tapos lalabas yung DNA result. Okay? Lalabas na yung DNA result. Tapos lalabas na hindi pala sila magkapatid. So magtutuloy yung kanilang love story. Then that is the time na papasok na yung falling action. Because falling action includes the events that unfold after the climax. Ayan na yung magkakaroon na ng kalinawan doon sa conflict nilang dalawa. Doon after ng climax, medyo magkakaroon na ng liwanag. Okay? So that is the falling action. Then pag kunwari nagkaroon na ng falling action, nagkaroon na ng liwanag, they found out na sa kanilang DNA result ay hindi naman pala sila magkapatid. Then they are going to continue with their love story. Siguro magpapakasal silang dalawa, magkakaanak. Then that is the time na makikita mo na yung denouement or the resolution. Ibig sabihin, nasolusyonan na yung problema, na-close na yung problema. Okay? O di nakabuo na tayo ng kwento. As simple as that. Okay? So, doon pa lang sa plot, dapat maganda na yung pagkakabuo mo, pagkaka-direct mo ng kwento para maganda yung kalalabasan ng iyong kwento. Okay? And now, let's go to the... ano to? Let's go to the fourth element of fiction, which is the conflict. Conflict is the struggle between the two entities, okay? Conflict is the problem in the story. In story writing, the main character, also known as the protagonist, encounters a conflict with the antagonist, which is adversary. So, kailangan magkaroon ng conflict. Kailangan ma-identify nyo yung problem in the story so that alam niyo kung paano iikutin yung kwento. Kasi pag hindi nyo alam iikutin yung kwento, magiging boring yung inyong kwento at baka madaling the readers can easily guess what the story will look like. Parang ganon. Say for example, when we are watching yung mga regular teleseries sa Pilipinas or yung mga regular movies sa Pilipinas, we can easily identify what will happen next because very Filipino yung story. Say for example, yung mahirap, yung bida, tapos malalaman na anak pala siya ng mayaman, tapos yayaman siya, tapos aaway niya yung kontrabida, tapos yung kontrabida, anak niya pala yung magiging love team ng bida. Ganun palagi sa Pilipinas, di ba? O kaya, yung kinidnap yung bida, tapos ang dadalhin siya sa bodega, tapos ang magliligtas sa kanya yung bida. O ganun palagi sa Pilipinas. So that is very usual, kumbaga. Since we are going to write we're going to write a fiction, yung imagination, ito doon na natin. Dapat pumunta tayo doon sa let's go beyond what is normal in the Philippine setting of stories. Okay, so galingan natin sa pagsusulat. Okay, so galingan natin sa pagbuo ng conflict, paggawa ng away. Okay, so I will be suggesting some of the conflict or struggle between your characters, the protagonist and the antagonist. Pwedeng character versus character. This is very the normal story. Yung dalawang tao ang nag-aaway or dalawang hayop ang nag-aaway or dalawang alien ang nag-aaway because they are in the same level or in the same um, dimension. Okay? Pwede rin naman palang ilagay din yung character versus the nature or the natural forces. Kunwari, ito yung mga characters na nakatira sa paanan ng bulkan na kung saan yung bulkan ay papasabog na, 'di ba? Puputok na yung bulkan. So what are they going to do para maging safe sila? So it depends on you. Pwedeng nung pumutok ang bulkan, nakapulot sila ng bato na may powers. Okay, so ngayon maglalaban ang nature at yung tao. Nature at yung tao. Okay, another one is the character versus the society or culture. Say for example, si Reynaldo ay napunta sa isang gubat kung saan nandoon si Tarzan. So magkaiba sila ng society at ng culture. So most probably yung culture at society ni Tarzan ay hindi matatanggap yung culture at society ni Reynaldo. So anong mangyayari? So maglalaban sila, huhuliin nila si Reynaldo, ilalagay siguro sa kawa, tapos lulutuin. O tapos kung ano yung kahihinatnan nung pagluto sa kanya, depende na yun sa inyo kung paano nyo bubuuin yung kwento. Okay, another one. Character versus the machine or technology. Okay, ito, meron akong mga magagandang movies na napanood, yung In Time, kung saan yung character, yung mga tao, they are given life based on the time na nasa katawan nila, yung nandito sa ano nila. Dito ba yun? Yung lumalabas yung time. Tapos yung time na yun is, yun na rin yung pera nila na pambayad sa mga binibili nila. Doon na rin inilalagay yung sweldo nila. So, pag naubos yung time mo, pag hindi mo siya dinagdagan, mamamatay ka. So that is character versus technology or machine. Kasi pag wala na yung technology sa katawan mo, patay ka na. Or pwede rin yung transcendence. Transcendence naman is mayroong character na inilagay niya yung sarili niya sa computer at lahat ng computer ay invade niya, parang vinirus niya lahat ng computer. So yung babae, naiwan siya, yung lalaki namatay. Yung lalaki, inilagay niya yung sarili niya sa doon sa mga computers. Tapos hindi na makakatakas yung babae, hindi na siya pwedeng umibig ng iba dahil binabantayan siya ng lalaki. So, machine versus character. Okay, character versus God. Ayan, ito naman yung, pwede dito yung storya ng Percy Jackson. Di ba si Percy Jackson is para lang siyang ordinaryong tao before. Kasi hindi pa niya nalalaman yung kanyang powers that time. Pero ang kalaban niya ay yung mga gods and goddesses. Kaibigan niya yung mga demigods. So, kinakalaban niya sino yung kalaban niya? Sino yung god of water? Si Poseidon. Okay, so, inaaway niya yung tatay niya kasi, bakit daw ganoon? Ba't wala siyang power? So on and so forth. Okay, another one is character versus himself or herself. Yan yung mga, paano ba yan? Medyo mahirap yan Yung mga yung may mga split personality. Yung
Psycho pa.
mabait siya. Ano yun? Ano yun? Psycho. O sige, bahala kayo. kung gagawa kayo ng character na psychotic, pwedeng ganun yung mga abnormal. Pero medyo mahirap yung medyo mahirap yung ganito or pwede rin yung pinapakita niyang not necessarily na isang tao. Pwedeng yung pinapakita niyang character sa mga tao na kasama niya sa istorya ay mabait, pero she is the one who is really the evil. 'Di ba? So dalawa yung pinapakita niyang character. That is also character versus character or character versus himself or herself. Again, sa pagbuo ng conflict, it depends on you. since gagawa ka na rin lang ng kwento na based on your imagination, you make sure that your kwento is worthy of reading. That your kwento is out of this world. Yung parang, nangyari yun talaga, nagawa yun. Parang ganon. So, when I had this lesson with the previous guest students, may mga nakagawa ng magagandang kwento. Okay, so ang naalala ko nun na sobrang ganda. Although maraming magaganda, ang talagang tumatak sa akin nun was the story of Jimry, the valedictorian sa batch niya. Ang ginawa niyang kwento is character versus himself or herself. Nag-start yung kwento niya sa naglalakad siya sa aisle kasi anak siya ng hari. Naglalakad siya sa aisle sa gitna. Tapos hindi siya nabigyan ng pagkakataon na sabihin kung ano talaga yung personality niya or yung pagkatao niya. Then the time na bibigyan na siya ng corona, ipapasa na sa kanya yung corona dahil anak siya ng hari. Hindi niya ito tinanggap. At sinabi niya na I have another personality. I want other things than that. Parang ganun. Tapos ayun, nagbago yung buhay niya. Parang ganun. Medyo magical siya pero wala naman siyang powers. Pero magical siya in terms of parang nag-disappear lahat ng kanyang mga takot sa sarili. Nag-disappear lahat ng insecurities niya sa sarili. The time na nag-open up siya sa public. Parang ganun. Medyo maganda yung ginawang ganun ni Jimry. Tapos sa last year, ang may pinakamagandang kwento naman si Jessa Oclarit. Ang kwento naman niya is about sa father niya na namatay. Namatay yung father niya bago mag-New Year. So, medyo malungkot yung New Year niya. Tapos, nakakita siya ng isang fairy, tapos nag-wish siya na bumalik yung panahon. So, nagkaroon ng parang rewind. So, bumalik yung panahon. So, most probably nabuhay yung papa niya. Then, doon sa pagbalik ng panahon, kinorek niya lahat ng mali. Kasi alam niya na hindi naman magbabago yung kwento na at the end of the story, mamamatay pa rin yung father niya. Pero yung mga moments na kasama niya yung tatay niya, na pag pinapagalitan siya, nagdadabog siya. Hindi. Pag pinapagalitan siya, nung nag-rewind yung buhay niya, hinahag niya yung tatay niya, something like that. Medyo nakakaiyak yun. So, umiyak ako nung binabasa ko yung istorya niya kasi nakarelate ako. So, yun. So, hopefully, sa inyo, you focus on writing since imagination ninyo ang limit. Pwede ninyong gawin din yung istorya ninyo. Tapos, kasi di ba sometimes when we are alone or bago tayo matulog, we imagine a lot of things. Yung inuunahan na natin yung future na ganito yung mangyayari sa buhay ko, something like this and like that. Tapos dagdagan mo na ng ibang seasons or ibang seasoning para mas maging maganda. Since gagawa ka na rin lang ng kwento, dahil kwento mo to, itodo mo na yung paggawa ng kwento para mas maganda. And again, you will be posting your stories doon sa page yung Gastro Poetry para hindi na kayo magsusulat doon sa papel. Yun yung i-check ko. Pero yung mga activities doon sa module, sa papel pa rin. Okay? Next is, yan. Sa fifth element of fiction, we have the point of view. Okay, so point of view, stories are generally told in one of two points of views. Pwedeng first person POV or third person POV. Ano ba yung tinatawag natin na first person point of view? This means that one of the characters in the story will narrate or give an account of the story. Pag first person, you are going to use the word I. So, pag gagawa ka ng kwento, tapos ako, parang hindi siya masyado maganda. Pero pwede naman siya if you want to use the first person point of view. Pero I am not suggesting it. It's better to use the third person point of view. Yung third person point of view means that the narrator is not in the story and the third person narrator is not also a character. So mas maganda 'yun para makabuo ka ng talagang totoong character mo. at totoong character ng iyong antagonist. Pwedeng ganon. Para mas maganda, para mas lumawak yung kwento. Kasi pag first person lang, hindi natin masyadong magagamit. Okay, so yun lang naman yung point of view, yung element ng fiction na point of view. First person or third person. Ang first person ay using I, ako. Ang third person is using he or she. Okay? He, she, them, they, and so on and so forth. Pero ikaw na narrator, ikaw na nagsusulat ng kwento, parang hindi ka kabahagi ng kwento. Pero depende sa'yo kung, kunwari, gagawa ka ng 4 characters, say for example, character ni Itsy Bits, ano yung sa ano? Nakalimutan ko. Yung sa Teletubbies, kunwari ikaw si Dipsy, ikaw, tapos kaibigan mo si Lala, tsaka nakalimutan ko yung mga character, sorry. Okay, parang ganun. Tapos pipili ka na lang doon kung sino yung, kung saan mo ilalagay yung sarili mo doon sa mga characters na bubuuin mo doon sa third person point of view. So, simple as that. And then, the last element is the theme. Okay, itong theme na pag-aralan natin doon sa previous na lessons natin. Theme is not the plot of the story. Sometimes kasi some of the students are some of the students believe that the plot of the story is also the theme, pero it is not. Kasi nga yung sabi natin yung plot is the pagkakasunod-sunod, the turning, pagkakasunod-sunod ng mga events in the story. Pero yung theme, this is the underlying truth that is being conveyed in the story. Yung parang universal siya sa story, but we can easily identify the theme of the story based on based on the story also. Say for example, doon sa kwento natin kanina sa elevator, ano yung magiging theme niya? So malamang it is love. Love between a man and a woman. Oh, that is the theme. Okay? Doon sa ano pa yung mga kwento natin? Doon sa kwento ni Jim Ree, the theme is about accepting one's personality or accepting one's preference in life. Okay? Doon sa kwento ni Jessa na nami-miss niya yung daddy niya. So, pwede rin siyang love of a daughter or love for a father, parang ganon. So, that is the theme. Themes can be universal, meaning they are understood by readers no matter what culture or country the readers are in. Okay, bakit sinabi natin na universal? Because whether the story possesses a different culture, we can easily identify it. Say for example, when we are watching yung mga Korean novela na gustong-gusto nating panoorin ngayon, 'di ba, yung mga may mga bago, Descendants of the Sun, parang yun lang yung naalala ko. Parang yung mga ganon, iba yung culture nila. Iba yung culture sa Korea. Iba yung mga acts nila, yung mga movements nila, iba yung mga words nila or language nila. But we can easily identify the story because nakaka-relate tayo, 'di ba? Kasi ang theme ay universal, pwedeng kahit na iba-ibang culture, iisa lang naman ang uri ng love, 'di ba? Pag love yung pinag-uusapan, pwedeng love between two persons, love of a friend, love of a parent, love of etc. etc. Pero love pa rin siya. Kaya nga siya universal kasi kahit na yung kwento natin dito sa Pilipinas, yung Pangako Sa'yo, ipinalabas sa ibang bansa, they can easily identify the theme kasi universal ang theme. Madali siyang maintindihan, madali siyang makilala, although iba yung language na ginagamit. Pero mas maganda pag syempre pag dinadub. Okay? So, theme, dapat bubuo lang kayo ng isang theme sa isang story. Do not put many themes in one story. Dapat isa lang para hindi kayo mahirapang ma-justify kung ano yung theme ng inyong story. Sakit na lalamunan ko. Okay, so that concludes our lesson for today, the elements of fiction. Elements pa lang yan. Okay? So doon sa inyong module, natin yung inyong module. Saan yung cursor ko? Ayan. Sa inyong module, paano ito itataas? Ang sabi niya dyan is, ang inyong activity, syempre itong activity 1, yung let's try it, you're going to answer that in a paper. And then itong activity number 2, write a story about a student who is struggling during the pandemic. So, depende sa inyo kung sinong estudyante, kung kayo ba or meron kayong kakilala. Your story must contain the elements of fiction, yung 6 elements, and it must follow the Freytag's pyramid. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng struggling student? Dito niyo kukwento yung mga struggles ninyo while you are continuing with your studies during the pandemic. And since it is fiction, pwede kayong mag-insert ng mga out of this world creation. Pwedeng may magsulat doon ng ano lang, kunwari nakapulot siya ng bottle ng genie. Sabihin mo, wini-wish ko na sana bumalik na sa dati yung mga ganito, ganyan. Pwede magkaroon ng superpowers. Pwedeng habang nag-aaral ka, naka-invento ka ng gamot para sa COVID, and so on and so forth. So, basta ang tema natin ay struggling student during this pandemic. Okay? So yan, pwede siyang English, pwede siyang Filipino, but syempre mas maganda pag English. And then, it must follow the Freytag's pyramid. Ipopost niyo ito doon sa Gastro Poetry para doon ko na lang i-check at malalaman ko kung original ba or copied yung story ninyo. And then, another one, create at least 1-minute video of you telling us about the inspiration of the story that you have just written, yung naunang story ninyo. A summary of your story shared on this video will be highly appreciated. So, itong video na ito, pwede siyang isa-summarize mo yung kwento and then you will tell us kung saan ba nakuha yung inspiration or where did you get the story or where did the story came from. Kung saan mo siya hinugot. Then you will tell that in a video, at least 1 minute. So pwede siyang 2 minutes. Pero sana hindi na siya lalagpas ng 3 minutes para madali siyang mapanood. Then that video again will be posted on our Gastro Poetry page. Okay? Malinaw ba? Okay, malinaw na yan. So, balikan nyo na lang yung module 1. Then, by Thursday or Friday, I will be sending you the next module. Dapat matapos natin to kaagad. Kasi medyo nalilate na tayo, medyo bilisan na natin. Doon na tayo sa literary devices after this elements of fiction. Okay, so let's have the pictorial na para meron akong report. Paki-open na lang ang inyong mga camera. At gandahan ang inyong smile. Ala, nawalan po ng internet. Paano mag-picture ng maganda? Paano yung lahat kayo? Hindi ko alam. Tatanga-tanga na naman ako. Di ba? Sinong lalaban sa headband ni Mariel? Sa paint. Sa paint ba? I-try ko nga dito. Ay, naka-record naman siya, di ba? Sino nagre-record nito?
Ako po, sir.
Okay. Hindi mo siya maisisend sa GC, Kasi masyadong malaki. Tama ba? Paano yung makikita kayo lahat? Ayun. Ilan lang tayo? Tayo ay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Asan yung mukha ko eh? Ayun. Okay, dito naman. Paano to? Participants. Participants. O siya, ano na lang siguro to. Paano kaya mapapanood to ng ibang kaklase nyo? Si Rinaldo nang bahala. Okay ba, Rinaldo? Ikaw na ang bahala. I-send mo na lang sa kanila. 1 oras din yun. O sige, hindi na natin pahabain para mas hindi masyadong mabigat. Okay, so thank you very much. At expect ko yung output ninyo within the week. Okay? Galingan ninyo. Galingan nyo sa imagination ninyo and creativity. Okay? Good morning. Bye-bye, guys. Bye. Oh, bye-bye na. Bye.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir.
Oh, maligo na kayo. Ay, nakaligo na sila. Mag-almusal na pala kayo. Grabe, nakaligo na kayo. Si Rinaldo lang